everybody, and welcome to this webinar on breaking down silos and working collaboratively in partnership with Cloudera and IBM Power Systems. I'm Graham Neal, I'm editor of Smart Cities World. COVID-19 has really accelerated the need for integrated services in order to meet citizens' needs, whether it's health, transport, digital transformation, or a wide range of services. What this requires is using technologies such as AI and machine learning, as well as collaborating with others. To discuss these issues and more, I have a great panel here today. I'm joined by Alexander Schaller, Regional Sales Director for Germany at Cloudera, Mark Schlingheiter, Sales Director, Federal and States, IBM Global, and Christian Violi, IBM Partner Sales Manager for EMEA at Cloudera. So to begin with, we have Alexander, who's going to talk about Cloudera and the solutions it offers. So Alexander, you have the floor.
Thank you, Graham. Happy to do so. So thank you for the opportunity speaking in the audience about this very important topic, as we see a lot of momentum in the markets around this topic, especially in government, especially in my region, which I cover. It's a great pleasure to have this kind of opportunity. We all live in this connected world now, and it's in private life. If we book a flight, a lot of systems, a lot of data is flowing back and forward between different stakeholders in this process. And the reason and the benefits of this is really going into an interesting state, if you want. But on the other hand, data alone does not make things smarter, and that should be especially the case for the situation if we're dealing with public agencies or governmental institutions. And what we see here is that these kind of key trends, which you see in private life, also affecting that sector. There are more data to be gathered. If you talk about cities, smart cities, and we come and touch to this point later on in my presentation, you see sensors all over. In mobility, one side, in traffic lights as one example, as well as bins who've been collected by the cities to empty. You see these kind of new applications which trying to connect the different data points and bring new services to the citizens who live in this in these places. Also, we see by having this kind of services and by having this mobile phones as one example on your head at any time, we see increased expectation on self-services. The citizen don't expect to get to an agency in person anymore. They expect to do stuff and more stuff online. We also see, of course, cloud is coming in any form factor, if you want, to the consumers, but as well to institutions and of course to companies at all. And all that is also surrounded by the increasing demand for doing this kind of new services in a secured and most governed way, especially in order to address the still somehow remaining key concern when it comes down to cloud and cloud-based services. If you look into the public sector now, and by knowing these kind of key trends we see here, the situation is then sometimes, we need to admit, sometimes a bit more challenged than anywhere else. We talk about a long history and long legacy actually of legacy systems which are carrying these kind of data, running these kind of applications, which are even coded in languages where you rarely see a resource anymore for. That is then also be driven on the fact that you have silos more or less everywhere. So based on the legacy, based on the governmental requirements and critical capabilities they need to address, you see that every department, if you want, carries their own so-called siloed data. And then this is also a cultural thing we observe sometimes, but it breaks up really more and more, that we don't see real, let's say, collaboration in these governmental sector between the different departments, between the different agencies, that we need to also honor. If we have to respect, that's a different point, but at least we need to honor. But what we also see on the one side is that they get more open to a cloud-based approach, right? Even if it's maybe a private approach or a real public, if you want, public hyperscaler-based approach. However, it's still the need here to have this kind of data governed and secured in the most sophisticated way. So what we thought and where we believe in is actually three big building blocks, if you want, where Cloudera could play a huge role in. On the one side, we believe that data can make what is impossible today possible tomorrow. That's a bold statement, but we truly believe in that data is already and become even more relevant for these kind of discussions in public and in private companies. What we're trying to accomplish with our clients, with our customers, is that we empower the people who have to transform these kinds of data into clear and actionable insight. That is our core mission, right? That's what we put in front of everything. And our main focus is also that we deliver these services, what we deliver and bring to these kind of agencies in the most flexible way, and ensure that the whole data lifecycle, which is relevant to understand, and we will discuss later in my pitch, in any way on any platform. And these three building blocks are relevant to understand how Cloudera could help in that environment. Just to dig a bit deeper here is our philosophy when it comes down to these building blocks from a strategy point of view, is how we operationalize this kind of platform we are actually bringing to the market. As I said, there's not only the cloud, there are many different clouds out there if you want. And one aspect here is that our approach covers, as I said, the whole variety, if you want, on where data could reside and where workload is being shifted to. You can think of the typical on-premise legacy workload, which is still in the data center, and you move slowly to, let's say, private cloud approaches, where IBM also plays a big role with OpenShift. You also could imagine, of course, the typical, let's say, hyperscaler who also raise their market share dramatically in the public space. And our approach is that we like to serve the customer, therefore the data wherever it should, agnostic to strategy, if you want. We also like to give you the full data lifecycle, which is a fundamental difference to other other vendors actually in the market. talking about how we collect data, how we enrich this data, how we report and serve this data, and even how we do the machine learning. And that's the entire, let's say, value chain / data lifecycle we like to support in the best way. Underlying of that is the core, two core principles we stick to. It's we like to have this secure and governed in the most compelling way, as well as open in terms of open source commitment, as well as open API. And these four concepts are crucial. These four core things are crucial to understand here. Bridging this to use cases we see in our smart city discussion, and why that is relevant to them is a bit of what we just discussed, right? So our belief is that data need to be managed from, as we call it, from edge to AI on one open platform. Especially the aspect of an open platform is quite relevant if you consider that new services will be delivered based on maybe a city-based data on the one side, let's say traffic density or something like that, weather forecasting combined with public transport routes, combined with let's say bus connections and last mile bridging of navigation services. This combination needs to be on one platform from edge to AI, as we say. And that requires 4 steps here we need to keep in mind. Number one is we need to have a deeper understanding of the agency who runs these kind of services. We need to target the delivery and need to have a better understanding what is really relevant of being delivered to the citizen as a service. And why is this relevant, and when it's relevant, and how this will be relevant. And we need to have, of course, the cost aspect in our mind. We need to run this as most reliable on the one side, but as well as most cost effective on the one side. And of course, we need to align this to the budget needs so that we keep the budgets in control. A great example I brought with me is the transportation use case you see below, where as one idea, everything gets together in terms of how communities are dealing with these kind of new, let's say, services. In that case, there was a so-called automatic vehicle location technology in the trucks you can see here, who gave the service, if you want, to the streets on cleaning the road from snow based on predictive, if you want, predicted traffic information for that day based on machine learning. On truck position, snowfall, etc. repeat. So the community was able really to focus on the most important streets on that day at that time historically first, and also could reduce unnecessary resources being wasted, if you want, on the streets, like the salt needed to get this streets de-iced in a most efficient way. And that's a great example from my point of view of where this from edge to AI really comes together, as we just discussed. So to wrap this up, is the right data. Let's bring the right data available to the right people at the right time. And by saying this, just to wrap up, where we see us as Cloudera uniquely positioned in the market is, again, is the opportunity to run all the whole data lifecycle on one dedicated platform. So it's not a single function approach here. It's really the whole data lifecycle from the collection to AI, from edge to AI, independent on the deployment model, hybrid, multi, on-premise. It's really down to you. Secure and governed, open source on one platform. What we see here, and that would be my closing remark, is we do have great use cases. We can't, to some degree, publicly speak about that, but not to all of them. And you see, and if you look into these kind of use cases in more detail, you see exactly that this kind of platform is really needed to bring these services to life in the most efficient and most easiest way. With that, I'd like to hand over to Graham. So Graham, stop the presentation and back to you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Some great points in there. I think one of the key ones is using data effectively. I guess data in itself isn't necessarily a good thing. It's how you use it that is effective. You also talked about silos, which we're going to come on to later in the panel discussion. So next up, we have Mark Schlingheiter, Sales Director, Federal and States at IBM Global. And he's going to be talking about the role of AI in federal and local administrations. So Mark, over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Graeme. And thanks for the warm words. Welcome everybody to my short presentation. I like to talk about the role of artificial intelligence in federal and local administrations, especially in Germany, in the next couple of minutes. I like to start with this one, with this page, because it illustrates the way how we engineer a solution for our local and governmental clients. In our discussions with the clients, it's always around software components. Of course, the solution kernel is the central element of each solution. And this could be also a solution from our partners, like Cloudera. This could be an IBM solution or a combined solution. As you maybe know, we invest a lot of money in research, and we have a lot of customer projects also together with Cloudera. With these experiences and these assets that we gain from the customer projects and from research, we add those components to our software products, and with that, this is the most tricky part here. On the top of this page, we have to develop the solution based on the individual characteristica of the situation that we face. As you know, it might be very complex to have an AI solution in a federal or a local customer side, because we have dedicated process specifica, we have a customized user interface, we have a lot of complexities, and of course we have a culture discussion in every AI project that we have. Why I'm talking about it, I show it on the next slide. You see here the kind of roller coaster. When I take the view 10 years before, I would say we had great ideas, we had great examples, and with that we failed by a lot in a lot of customer situations that we have worldwide, and also of course in Germany, because the expectations were too high, the complexities were too high, and the experiences that we have were not there to include a very good consulting approach here. And for that, that we still have is the framework, the databases are missing, still missing in the kind of parts of our customer references. But now, as we have the blick forward here, we went down the roller coaster. We're talking about smaller AI applications in the market. And with that, I would say this first quarter of this year was the most powerful quarter for bringing up AI and digitization projects. That's the reason why I say we're here in this transition phase to get bigger and bigger AI applications. And with that, I could say AI projects are quite different in every scenario, but always kind of the same in their approaches. When I split AI projects to three parts, I would say artificial intelligence has to see, to listen, to think, to talk, to interact, or to read and write, to recognize and to recognize pictures, and to generate and navigate knowledge that we gained in the last couple of years. I would like to give you examples to all of these three cases that we are facing in the market that we've done in the last years. So this one is starting with read and write. It's one of the easiest way to get basic AI functions for our citizens here in Germany. This one is a typical infobot that we built up with the Federal Ministry of Interior last year during the COVID-19 pandemic. Citizens in Germany had the need to get information in real time and don't like to make phone calls or write emails and so on and so forth. That's the reason why the federal government decided to create an infobot here with us. It was done in less than 2 weeks or shorter than this, and that was a very great success for the German citizens. Another example, just a quick one, still the same use case, bringing up AI functions very easy to German citizens. Here is a case with the German pension insurance, and for that they created a digital assistant for a supplemental insurance for the pension fund. This is an infobot. As we said on the earlier page, you can write your dedicated question, get the links. I think it's a very easy way to start talking about AI with reading and writing, and to get an interaction with the citizens. The second case, and it's much more complicated, but it's a powerful use case, seeing and recognizing from pictures. This case was done with IBM infrastructure, with power systems. That's necessary because this use case is a deep learning case for the federal state of Lower Saxony in Germany. This case was all about object and outline recognition of buildings. Yes, it's a very special use case, but it's a common use case in every federal state in Germany, because when you get the pictures from satellites, German employees here of the state had to pick every picture by itself and have to mix and match and have to compare all the pictures, which building has new build up, which building has moved, which building is missing, which street is made by its own, and so on and so forth. It's a very interesting use case, because you have to you get the automation engine from the deep learning to have an automatic object and outline recognition of these kinds of building. And now it's done. As I said before, it's a new asset from us. You can think about any other examples about it, because you can use the engine from this customer. So, and my last example here, and I start with this one on the bottom of this page, because I think it's more image recognition from the last page. The city of Hamburg, that's where I actually live here right now, has a great project made with us. It's an example that German citizens, the citizens of the city of Hamburg, could take pictures with their mobile phones, download an app, and to upload these pictures if they see any old bikes on the street, waste in the bushes, paper dropped in the forest, or so on and so forth. This AI-based image recognition leads to the point that the responsible department of the city of Hamburg could automatically drop the right people to the right place in the right time with the right truck. Nobody has to check all the images, what is inside, which truck do I have to need, how many people do I get to clean up this pollution site. So it's a very nice example. And when you think about the last picture, as I saw with his roller coaster, and I said already, this year is the year of digitization and AI processes. Our company has made a great deal with the federal government last week. We have to design and implement the digital vaccination certificate for Germany, so for every citizen. And I think it's the first step of bringing up data platforms. And in the next step, you can use data and AI to get more information out of it, and to get information to the people that need a vaccine, or so on. There are a couple of more steps that we can talk about. And my last example for today is also a platform, a data platform. It's the case from the German pension insurance. It's very difficult for a German to get pension information before they retire. When I retire in 20 or 30 years, I really don't know how much money do I get from the state of Germany. And now this is the next big step here in Germany to bring up all the data that citizens created, all the data that the pension insurance have. And for that, Germans can get all the information that they need, and maybe combine it with infobots, to combine it with image recognition. I think this is one of the first great steps that we made this year. I really looking forward to talk to you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out for me. And then for that, I will close and hand over to Graeme. Many thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. I think you demonstrated the flexibility of artificial intelligence there in your presentation. I liked how it could be used really to engage the citizen, I guess, with the running of a city. So to close this out before we turn to our panel discussion, I'd like to introduce again Christian Violi. He's IBM Partner Sales Manager, EMEA, Cloudera. He's going to talk a little bit about the partnership between Cloudera and IBM and how that ties everything together. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Graham. So again, I am Christian Violi, and I look after the alliance with IBM. I am in Cloudera, and my job is to run this partnership. So, and I take the occasion to thanks to my colleague Alexander and my partner Mark, in order to, because they are running this partnership very well in their countries. So now I want to walk you through a little bit of history about this very important partnership. Two key moments, one in 2017 and the other one in 2019. So what happened in 2017? 2017 was the moment where when Hortonworks and IBM started with the partnership. They started in September 2017 with Hortonworks made a partnership with the IBM Power System, and then they grew up with the partnership, adding the certification to Spectrum Scale, certifying HDP, the Hortonworks Data Platform on Power Systems, adding HDF, so the data flow solution, and then also with the software group, having a big SQL and DSX on the Hortonworks data platforms. And at the end of the year, also HDF was delivered on Power System. So this was the starting point of the partnership, and was before a very important moment. The moment I'm talking about was in January 2019, when Hortonworks and Cloudera finalized the merge. So, and created a new company. The Cloudera that you see now is the results of the merge between the old Cloudera and Hortonworks. When we did this merge, one of the first things that we did was to upgrade the partnership, the agreement with IBM, in order to include into the IBM agreement all the new products. So the old Cloudera products, the old Hortonworks products and technologies, and the new one. The new one released from the merge was the Cloudera Data Platform. The Cloudera Data Platform that was explained by my colleague Alexander before. Another very important step in the partnership was last year, when we released the Cloudera Data Platform private cloud on OpenShift. And to do this, we signed the agreement with Red Hat. Now we are working with IBM very closely every day, and we are improving the partnership. So we will see new steps in the partnership, and we will improve the partnership in future. Let me walk through the reason why we did this partnership, why Cloudera and IBM decided to collaborate. So the first point is the positioning. So we are both positioned on the data management space. We have the ambition to offer a full platform for data management, but it's not only software, it's not only hardware, but it's expertise, skills. So it's a full portfolio of solution, expertise, skills, professional services to help the customers in managing their data. Let me walk you through the reason why we made this partnership, focusing on some keywords that I underlined, and you can find it in orange. So the first important thing is to speed innovation. It's really key for us, the open source concept, not only for Cloudera, but also for IBM with the Red Hat acquisition. So we are together the most important contributors, investor in the open source world. And we select continuously the best open source projects in order to provide, to improve our platform, our offering in the data management space. Another key point is something that has been already touched by Alexander, is our hybrid position. I would say we can our positioning is to offer a platform that is that can run on premises, in hybrid, and multi-cloud. So we want to give to the customers the freedom of choice. We want to give the customer the possibility to not being locked in with cloud providers, with vendors, but to have the choice to have the possibility to change their choice. Another point very important is the support. There is a study from Forrester that says that with a multi-vendor support, customer can save 25%. This is really important because joining forces, we and IBM, we can give a better support to our customer and save time, money, and frustration. Another point that was already touched by my colleagues is the secure. So secure, we mean the data protection. So we want to guarantee the data protection. We want to govern the data through the platform anywhere and always. And we are providing a layer in the platform to do this that is called shared data experience. With this layer, we want to give the everywhere and always the data protection to our customers. Another key point is that we are joining forces with IBM in order to give to the customer the possibility to grow and to change, to accompany them in this growing and transformation path. Every company now is understanding that data is a value, and they are trying to understand how to bring the value from the data. And it's a digital transformation, and we are together with IBM, we are providing to the customers this support in accompany them in this digital transformation. Last point is the expertise. We have, together with IBM, decades of expertise that are not only technological experiences, technological skills, but also vertical industry skills. And this is really, really important. Today, we are here to talk about smart cities. And this is my last slide to just to recover what was already said by my colleagues and to map what we call data experience with some smart use cases. So any of these use cases, like smart parking, smart lighting, or the water management, the smart transportation, any of these use cases starts from some data experience, a combination of this experience. For any of these use cases, you have to ingest data, you have to collect data, you have to run analytics or machine learning. So this is really important. Before having the possibility to build and to run these use cases, you need to have a platform that is able to manage your data and secure the data protection in every silos of the data. With this, I hand over to Graham. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. That was very interesting. I think you really underlined the importance of collaboration within the smart cities field. So I'd like to bring everybody back, if I could. I was thinking it would be interesting, Alexander, I'd like to put this to you first. You raised the issue of silos within smart cities. I was wondering, could you just outline how serious you think that issue is?
Yeah, I think I touched on that briefly a bit by saying it's a legacy data, which is obviously, because we are all citizens of one city at the end of the day, it's long-term data, which is sometimes hard to assess and hard to get access on, I meant. And so for that is not often, despite all the regulatory and compliance aspects and data privacy aspects, if it comes to privacy data, that's for sure one aspect, right? And then the need for collaboration, the need to break up the silos is not often feasible for the, let's say, in a political way, if you want to drive that initiatives forward to a degree as it's maybe possible for a privately owned or operated company. So these two reasons are definitely one of them, despite technology issues, right? So data needs to be consumable, if you want, in the same way, needs to be managed in the same way, and so on. But I see light in there. We see a lot of projects dealing with exactly that challenges in the market, and it would be unfair to say they won't do it. It's simply there's many influences these kind of, let's say, agencies have to deal with when it comes down to breaking up the silos. It's not as easy.
Mark, I was curious. I feel Alexander maybe has a bit of cautious optimism, if that's fair.
Yeah.
What is your view? You know, how serious an issue do you feel it is?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm with Alexander. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So my point of view and my expectation from our clients is, and as a citizen of the city of Hamburg, I hopefully still see the same here. Cities and governments can break up silos if they are open for partnerships, of course, yeah, to engage with the industry, yeah, as we are, but also to engage with the science, of course. And I would call up to tighten these kinds of partnerships. It's absolutely necessary to talk about problems, to bring up use cases, to have platforms as we have right now here from smart cities. It's a great example. But as I see, and the pandemic is still facing all of us, I see a way of a new normal. Of course, I see also a new way of new efficiency. Yeah, calling up, having a phone call, having a video call, and I see, of course, as I said before, the way of new inclusion. Yeah, to talk with us as industry, to talk with the science, and to talk to have a constructive internal talk within the local expectation. The answer from IT is very simple. We can break up silos by setting open standards, and the open standards in IT. That's our common sense within IBM. But the cities have to set open processes. So IT and processes can have a great link to bring up the things forward.
And maybe one more add to that, because I really like what I hear. Why? Another aspect is also they're simply not used to monetize their data. You know, their existence is not based on that, let's say, aspect. They are based on serving a need, you know, and so there could be competition over time, if you want, on cities who could develop open platform, open data access to their data in the most efficient and easiest way to bring up new services, and therefore attract, if you want, better citizens. Yeah, so it's a tough call, but this is really happening right now. If you take the sharing, mobility sharing services, they also have already access to some kind and to some degree of their data of cities, if you want. So where can I park my scooter, if you want? Is it allowed there or not? So this is public data. being served by the city itself. And so, and that's an interesting aspect, and that needs to be break up a bit, if you want, that we not only serving a need, a purpose, we also make the data available, and by doing so, we can charge money based off that, and all of a sudden the tax will be reduced. I don't know, just a thought, you know. So so that is what is going to happen. That's what I meant also by expectation a bit, that the expectation changed a bit as well.
Christian, in your view, Mark mentioned briefly COVID-19. Do you think the coronavirus pandemic has changed attitudes towards breaking down silos and embracing open technology?
Oh, yes. Yes, for sure. Because I think that this bad situation that we are living every day now is also putting us more close to the technology. No? So we understood the value of the technology, the value of being able to use the technology in the right way, and the value of the integration. So for sure, and also now the need to collect all the data related to COVID, to collect all the data related to vaccines, and this is becoming something that is a must. No, it's not nice to have. We must do it. And to do it, we need to use the technology in the proper way. So for sure, I think this is a disruptive moment, unfortunately from the negative point of view, but we can use this moment also to improve and to innovate.
Mark,
Definitely.
I saw you nodding away there while Christian was speaking. What are your views on this?
Yeah, as I said before, this first quarter of this year was one of the greatest in digitization in Germany. Of course, yeah, we bring up this digital vaccination certificate, and we bring up the digital platform for getting each and every German citizen to get the right information. How much money do they get when they retire? It's absolutely great, and I'm highly motivated to get more these kinds of examples of it. But don't have the fear as a decision maker in a city to start with data projects. The data projects are not IT driven, or should not be IT driven. It should handle a use case to be a more attractive city. Alexander said it's a competition. Of course, it's a competition between cities. It's a competition between local and local governments and states. Of course, yeah. Why should I invest as a company in this city when they don't have a fast internet connection? Yeah, that's funny when we're talking about it. So we have to make our homework. I think we are able, with a great partnership with science and other partners from us, to get in touch with these decision makers. Don't have the fear, because everything that you start is very important to get more advantages for German citizens.
That's an interesting point, Mark. Alexander, do you feel one of the challenges, I guess, that you have is helping cities overcome that fear? What would you say the obstacles are, I guess, to making them open up and taking advantage of that kind of technology?
Again, they have a lot more on their plate from my point of view, and more stake is at risk, if you want, for a city, because a lot of reputation, a lot of things could go wrong, etc. So I would say we need to respect where they are, and I have deep respect for how fast they go, as Mark said, right? it was a booster, the pandemic situation, and we see a lot of interesting and inspiring projects around Germany, where we also have the pleasure to be in. And it's amazing what they now all of the sudden, at least from our point of view, develop. If you think about a digital twin in the industry, and if you transfer this to a city, it's amazing what you could see as a use cases taking off. It's far beyond my expectation, to be honest, and it makes totally sense to do these kinds of initiatives, and we are more than happy to be a partner for these initiatives as well. So all set from my point of view here, because it's a bit, you know, situation where we can't share everything because a lot of that is still under NDA, but it's really impressive how fast they could move now. And what kind of a wheel, if they translate, they're spinning, you know. So it's very, very fascinating, to be honest. Yeah.
And Christian, I guess cities have to move according to the needs of their citizens, and also on across the city, how, you know, a city operates, I guess. I mean, if a city isn't embracing the need to break down silos, what sort of things are they missing out on?
If they are not, the question is, if they are not embracing what they have to do. So I think that, first of all, I think that they have to understand the value of the data. So the first thing is probably a cultural point. So they have to understand the value of having the data, collecting the data, and then elaborating this data in order to give a better service. Okay, so I think that we can help in this first phase, okay, to let them understand why they should make this kind of cultural step, okay, and then there is the platform. So I mean, then there is the platform that can help them, but that probably is the starting point, because they need to have clear in mind the priorities in terms of use cases, okay, because the platform itself, let me say, is the starting point, it's not the ending point. Okay, and then they have to, we are making some experience in this case, and the suggestion that we are giving to the customers, to the cities, is to understand the value of the data in every part of the organization. It's not only the IT organization, every part of the organization. Have a platform that is able to give them the flexibility and the scalability and the openness to manage this data. But then you start realizing the use cases, and you need to have in mind the priorities in terms of deployment of use cases.
And Alexander, what are your thoughts? You were looking intently while Christian was speaking.
Just remind me on a situation we had with a register office for new cars. If you like to drive them on the street, you need to register them officially. And we had a project going on, and we asked sales, like, if you want, we asked, what happened if you don't do this project? Nothing, because we are monopoly, you know. So that is the flip side to the discussion here a little bit. So they can take the time they need to do it right and to do it sustainable. And that's also a bit different to the private sector, if you want, that they are not in that kind of rush. You know, there's only one registration office for Munich or for whatever, Berlin or whatever city. And so if they don't get this data project across in time, the customer still has to queue, you know, and it's okay. And to be honest, the expectation right now from us as a citizen is not that they have to do it in a smartest way. We are right now, at least for me, I'm impressed if it works modern, you know what I mean? So, and I'm not offended by being treated old school, you know, and that is how they deal nicely with it. They could surprise us. I mean, that's maybe the wording, right? They could surprise us, and they do it, and they do surprise me to some degree, and that's that will be my statement here, right? So they do have a great opportunity, and they have a great data sets available, and they think twice, and they could, and they better should think twice sometimes. That's also true. Yeah.
Mark, I was curious, say you're a city who sees the value of breaking down silos, of using open technology, but they're not entirely sure what the first steps are. Where do you think they should begin?
So I think bring up the team together, take a whiteboard or a flip chart or something like that, and write down all the things that you have in your brain in the first discussion, and try to explain what the problem really is and what do you like to solve. And then in the first step, you should start with bringing up concerns as complexities, cultural things, and so on and so forth. But it's really, really important to get in the first step, in the very first step, truly the key decision maker, but also the guys who has to deliver this kind of project, to get the main parts of a potential project very close at the beginning, because it's, as Christian said, it's a cultural thing that you have to discuss. It's kind of a journey, but my call would be start with the whiteboard and write down your concerns and write down your thoughts, and then you could start an IT discussion or whatever solves to get rid of the problem.
Christian, what do you think? Is whiteboard the best first step here?
Question is to me?
Yes.
No, it's I agree because so when I say that you have to make a cultural step, I mean exactly this, and you have to share your thoughts with your colleagues with different organizations. So not only in the IT department, but all the organization, in order to understand what they have in mind, their concerns, which use cases they would like to provide to the citizens. So, and if you brainstorm on this, but of course this is only the first phase, but in this phase you can have all the people sharing with you, the importance of doing this, the importance of starting having a data strategy, and then you can make the step back. You can start choosing the technology, you can start choosing the system integrators or the consulting company who will help you. You can start prioritizing the delivery of the use cases, and you can then start to make the projects. So I think this is the journey.
And Alexander, just to wrap up, are there any other pieces of advice you would give?
I wouldn't say that I'm in position to give any advice. All we can help everyone who is interested in is with what is really possible. I mean, I think there is also a bit a gap, if you want, and we can help bridging this gap of understanding what is really possible, and the easiness of doing the, as I said, and a bit of our claim, we are doing the impossible today, yeah. And so, and this kind of partnership here is really, I mean, we are both rock solid in this technically domain, but also capable, and that's, I think, what Mark liked to lay out, really help to get the understanding what makes sense and when it makes sense and how we can put this thought into action. Yeah, and that is the power of this, from my point of view, partnership here, that we have the technology and the skill set to make this technology work to the most comprehensive way to any client, and especially also in huge projects in public sector, you know. And that is where we are more than open to have any discussion. Excellent.
I think that's a good point to end on. I think, as the three panelists have said, I think the breadth of the use cases available today are vast, but the possibilities that citizens can get tomorrow by being open, by using the technology, are huge. I'd like to thank my three panelists, Christian Viodi, Mark Schlingheiter, and Alexander Schaller. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.